This is Anthony with True Diamond Heart, continuing our series Through the Darkness. One of the tools that is, I would say, indispensable to truly and sincerely increase our sincerity, and with that sincerity move into the darkness that will reveal on the path of sincerity towards light, is stillness. I call it a stillness practice, but meditation is the word. The reason I use the word stillness practice is because we can also use silent prayer. We can even use active prayer where we ask for help and then we're silent, we listen, because what we tend to do and what we do is we ask divinity to bend to our will. We ask for the universe to give us what we think we want. If you'd gotten what you wanted when you were 14, would that have been good for you? 18? 22? Not really. Not in my life. It would have been disaster. Jail, death, and or much greater depression. Much greater suffering in the long run. So we don't really know what's good for us still. In the eyes of divinity, in the eyes of eternity, we don't know that much. We know very little. So perhaps we need to listen, to be still and listen, if we're working with God in prayer, if that's the way we do it. Meditation can have God or not have God, it doesn't matter. But meditation is, again, it's stillness. It's learning to drop the layers of noise in our head and feelings in our body and allowing reality and truth to simply be and seeing what that experience is. And it's incredible. It's a very light experience. Within the process of meditation, when I got serious about meditation, started meditating, an hour, 2, 3 hours a day. For the first several years, I was simply seeking peace, beauty, truth, love, and all these things like this, with some measure of success. And around the same time, I don't know if you heard the story in past videos about my reactivity in the car. I'd be driving, and something would happen that would piss me off, and it would happen like this, and I would suppress it like that because I had this self-image of being a spiritual person. So spiritual people don't react, right? But I was lying. Around the time I started getting clear that I was reacting, and let me not be lying about the reactivity. Let me see the reactivity and not suppress. Oh, hang on, it's there. There's actually everything right with seeing error. We try to be, that's just so deep. We try to be right. We should try our best to see how we're incorrect, because that's where growth comes. Not in defending our correctness. Our correctness doesn't need defense. It will simply be, if it's actually real, it will be true on its own. Truth doesn't need our support. So around the time that I started to stop suppressing and started seeing the truth, I am still reacting. This is a small thing, but it was representative of my whole being at that stage. I am still very reactive. I'm still full of darkness and lies and self-deceit and all these other things. Around that time, I also started realizing that, the car passed us by. Does it make any difference to us? A little seed of seeming distraction through the darkness. Maintain the stillness. There is stillness in the greatest of noise. So stillness practice, meditation, mindfulness, which is the walking around meditation, give or take, the impersonal watching of the self. But meditation, around the time that I started being honest with myself and realizing that you may be on a spiritual path, but stop calling yourself things. Stop thinking about yourself. Stop constructing an identity that used to be based around this constellation of things that you did and thought. And now you meditate, so you're a spiritual guy. More nonsense. More just the darkness, that tricky shadow. Just found another way to sneak in and co-opt the spiritual process. And it does that all the time. Thank you, Planet School. So around that time, I started having meditation experiences of darkness and increasing darkness. I had after that about 5 or 6 years of, I would say, a majority of my meditative practice was anxious. It was just because I was ready for that deep anxiety that had been running my life to come up and be present. And I realized I had to sit with that anxiety, and I sat with that anxiety. There was a different bed, but right in that spot there, right? I think where the doggy is. Right there, if that's her. Yeah, there she is. I sat there for literally thousands of hours. And a majority of those hours, or a majority, wouldn't be that the whole hour, but if I was sitting for an hour and a half, 80% of it often would be anxiety. I will say this, at the end, the anxiety always let go if I stayed long enough with the right attitude, which is surrender. Simply watching the anxiety, being with it, not describing it, not fighting it, not lying about it, not pushing it down, not putting it on someone else, because the anxiety has its job is to run outside, run either inside myself and say, oh, there's something wrong with your body, something wrong with your mind, something wrong with your emotions, or go outside and say, oh, she did this or he did that, runs and tries to find a place to connect so that it can get your thoughts involved and then get that thought feeling thing going so the anxiety can keep living and feeding off my vital energy. Just sitting there with acceptance. It's called working with the anxiety. Working with the anxiety means doing absolutely nothing. Just with the honest courage to sit there and say, wow. And the truth is, a big part of me really didn't like it. But that's what meditation became. And so a friend of someone I know, 80-year-old woman, she describes her meditation practice as cleaning house. And that's a perfect way to explain it. So the meditative process is both the revelation of the potential and the experience of divinity, because that happens too. It's like, that's not necessary, I don't need to get into that. But that happens, the revelation of the light happens, and the experience of the light. And then as we get ready, as we move deeper into the light, we become ready to handle more darkness, and the darkness reveals from inside, if we're honest about it. And in that meditation, we do our work, which is to sit with it and let it dissipate. In its time, it did dissipate over a series of years, got to the point where it seemed like it was gone, and yet it wasn't. Because 2 years ago, I went into the depths, even deeper, much deeper darkness, the closed door. We all have that closed door way down in the basement, like a trap door. I was just like, no, I'm not going in there. I didn't go in there, but I invited that which was divine about that which is divine, divinity, to bring me there with enough sincerity that it happened. And the pain and the torment and the panic and the fear and the just nervous anxiety that I experienced, we'll see if it's over. It appears to have lifted, but I don't know, because there have been a lot of aftershocks. But thank you. This is Through the Darkness. In the meditation, I continued my meditation through that 2 years. I increased it. I kept with the clean food. I increased all of the habits that I knew, objectively, the exercise, were necessary to keep body, emotion, mind, and soul together. And from that was born this project, which I never would have imagined. I mean, a few short weeks before it started. There's no way but through the darkness. And in that darkness that I experienced during those 2 years, there were magnificent moments of light. And to see this great light and have this great open freedom within the middle of a very dark overall situation is absolute proof that it's not the circumstances or the outer world that's creating darkness. Yes, the outer world is full of darkness, but what resonates and what I work with is inside of me. Stillness practice. Cultivate one. Every day, first thing in the morning, last thing at night. If you don't have a practice yet, 30 seconds. Just 30 seconds of being still. Look on YouTube. We have videos in our library, in the True Diamond Heart YouTube library on meditation. But there are millions. There are millions of videos you can find on YouTube and books you can find and read. Meditation. Practice, cultivate meditation, stillness practice. It will both bring you through the darkness and the light that's in the darkness. It will bring us into the darkness we need to work through, and it will keep us with enough light and courage so that we can maintain through that, and it will reveal finally to that magnificent light that we're working towards revealing that innocent perfection, that purity and beauty that we are and that we crave with every fiber of who we really are. See you soon for more on Through the Darkness.